So hello everybody, this is Hugh Massie from DNA Behavior, and today I am delighted to do another one of our identity conversations with Shay Woodward. Shay is the CEO and founder of Performance Wealth. He's been using the DNA systems for the last 8 or 9 years, and I'm really excited to have you with us today, Shay.
Thank you, Hugh. Good to talk again.
So, Shay, why don't you just tell everybody a little bit about your life history, career history, go back as far as you want, going forward to today in becoming a leading wealth manager.
Well, third generation in the industry, different roles between the three of us. My father was the first to get in back in '69. He, after I think it was 3 years, went into management. My granddad went in somewhere in the '70s. I'm not sure exactly what year, his dad. And then I got interested and joined in late '94. I interviewed with a total of 5 companies, and the 5th one was my father, which was not my plan. But everybody narked on me in the community and said, "Hey, why is your son in my office?" And I just, figured keep the family, sort of separated. But anyway, long story short, I ended up working with him. And so I've been in business myself since late '94.
So what was the motivator though for going into your father's business or into the family business?
The industry or his office specific?
Well, both actually. What was the motivator for going into the industry and into your father's business?
All right. The industry, to be honest, I won't name the firm, but a large, very reputable company had gotten my resume through the MBA program here in town. And I honestly was not the least bit interested, to be candid. I just figured I'd work on my interview skills. And I went in there and I had the interview and I'm like, that kind of sounded a little interesting. And lo and behold, they liked me. And long story short, went through all that. And then by the time it started to really grow on me, probably 3 or 4 or 5 interviews later or something, I contacted one of my father's good friends that I have known since late '81. I'm like, "Hey, what do you think about me being in this industry?" And he's like, "Shay, it's not about all the numbers. I'm good with numbers, but I just don't want to do them all the time. I'm just I try to be a very caring individual, very relationship oriented type person. It's not all about the numbers and things." So he convinced me he solidified my thought, because it was growing on me, to get in the industry. And honestly, to work with my father, once he convinced me to come downtown and see him in his office and all this fancy stuff, he told me 2 things. He's like, 1, you need to work somewhere that you feel comfortable with, because you're going to spend more time here than you will at home. Well, I threw that one out the window, because I had known most of those people since I was 12 years old. I mean, even whether I was calling to talk to my dad and they were answering the phone, or they were coming to our house for the annual Christmas party, and my sister and I were taking their coats and their purses and telling them where to park. We knew these people. So I threw that one out the door. The second thing, though, hit me that none of the other 4 firms said. It says you always do what's best for the client. You won't always sell the company he worked for. You won't sell necessarily our products, but you're independent. Go get the client, protect them from a lot of bad advisors out there. And sooner or later, whether it's now or 5, 6, 7 years from now, you'll end up selling something that we manufactured. But just go protect the client, always do what's best. And that's honestly what sold me. Nobody else said that, but he did. And that's why I went with his office.
Yeah, so going into the industry is really about caring for people and it being a place to build relationships.
That's absolutely correct. And I too many times it's about the numbers and that sale. So when I, even to this day, 26 years in, over 26 years in, I meet another advisor, whether it's at a function or a conference or whatever it is, and you get to know them a little bit and you're like, wait, we're the same cloth. You're weird like me. All right. It's not that we don't want to be successful financially and things, but there's more to it than that for a group of us anyway.
Yeah, so it's not everybody is, in the slogan that DNA Behavior uses, understanding people before numbers. I think that I know that's what you represent in your own belief systems.
Right.
Well before you found us, but that's really the key to it in being client centered. You've got to put the person first.
Oh, absolutely.
Regardless of the solution.
Well, and you have to be able to something. I guess I knew intuitively, but then you guys gave me a process for it. Is I knew from even before I met you was exposed to your system in summer of 2012. So even those prior, however many years that was, 17, 18 years, all these consultants would come in our office and try to get you to identify this client profile that you were supposed to work with and all this type of stuff. And I never could come up with one. And I think I finally got frustrated with one gentleman, and I finally just blurted out in this classroom type setting. I'm like, I only do business with people I wouldn't mind having a beer with. And they're like, what? I don't mean we have to have a beer. We can have beer, we can have coffee, we can have tea, we can have whatever. But if we can't sit down and talk for 20 minutes about whatever, not business, whatever, and not halfway at least enjoy each other's company, there's no way we're going to do business with each other. I can't operate that way. Yeah. If I don't like you, if I don't think you like me, it's just not going to work. And your system gave me basically, instead of finding out via gut instinct, now gave me reports that I can have done before I ever meet them. So I know going in, this is not going to work. But you couch it, because maybe it was a referral, and you position it as such, and everybody still walks away from that coffee, for lack of argument, happy, because it's like, look, you go through it. Look, I'm not the best fit for your situation. I kind of put it on me. I don't say, hey, you're a jerk. I don't say that. But it's like, I am the way that I am. And, it's not that one of us is right, one of us is wrong. We're just wrong for each other. So tell you what I'm going to do. I have other advisors within my network that have gone through this process. So I know how their genetic makeup, so to speak. And I'm just going to make up a name here. John so-and-so is a really good fit for you. You would be best suited for him. And I know he'll do a kick butt job. Do you mind if I give these to John so-and-so and have him call you within 48 hours? I'm like, every time that's happened since 2012, probably since 2013 when I started my company, you see that prospect go, wait a minute, you're willing to pass off my business to someone else? Yeah, because it's the right thing to do. We're just going to end up mad at each other, because it's a square peg round hole thing. It's not going to work. So it's not a knowledge-based thing. It's a personality thing. So let me get you someone who's you're going to be more comfortable working with. Oh, okay, let's do that. And it just keeps everybody happy as far as I'm concerned.
Because at the end of the day, Shay, you're interested in building a relationship with people.
Yeah.
You care about them, your heart's for them. And if you can't do the best job for them, which will come down to a lot of the time in how you communicate and relate, a little bit, what's the point? So in a way, you're doing them a favor by getting them to go to someone that could do a better job for them, or handle them better, or have a better relationship with them. That's really that's what's going on.
Right. It's I think, to draw a very broad polar opposite sort of thing is, I'm a very emotional, caring person. I don't mean that like to toot my horn or anything, but the numbers to me have always been easy. Even before I had financial DNA, it's like, oh, we can go numbers toe to toe all day long. Let's do it. I probably got to memorize. It's kind of weird like that. But if I can't convey these numbers to you in something meaningful, it doesn't mean a dang thing. There's other people, and I've got one client like this that convinced me to hire him. I just wish I'd never hired him. But we'd known each other for so long, and our genetic makeups we're just opposite. And it's not that he's a bad guy at all. It's not that at all. Very high morals and the whole 9 yards. But I specifically told him, I'm like, here's the stack of papers. We're not supposed to work together, and here's why. He's like, Shay, we're going to be cognizant of our differences, and we'll work through it. I'm like, look, I would rather throw all these applications in the shredder and not, I don't care about the business. I don't want to lose the friendship. And, guess what? The friendship's not there anymore. In fact, he has called me and emailed me and told me that I should not be sharing my personal information with clients. The different things have been going on and whatnot. Well, I got called out by a few clients because my attitude has always been, I don't show stress or discomfort or whatever's going on in my life is not the client's problem. Their problems are my problem. I'm there to, whatever it is. It could be, it's not that it has to be financial. It could be something with their adult daughter, ODing again or whatever it is. They're going through some sort of stress. Now that I know their genetic makeup and how they're going to react to certain things, how can I best help ease their mind a little bit? But with some things that have gone on in my life the last few years, there's been clients that have picked up on me that I didn't see coming. And, one of them gave me a bear hug and wouldn't let go until I confessed what was going on, personal stuff. But he'd figured it out. He had his own built-in financial DNA or something. I don't know what the heck that was, but
well, humans are like cats. They sense problems a long way out, I think. And but you're also, a very authentic person, and that's the way you want to carry on your life and carry on your business, by being more open with people and sharing and being relational. And it's going to be the clients that want to come along on that journey with you.
Oh yeah.
That you want to have, and they want to have, and the people that are going to be more closed or just bottom line about it, perhaps aren't the right fit, and they're better going to somebody else. Exactly.
And again, going back, I think it's something you or Leon taught me years ago. It's not that one of us is right and one of us is wrong. We're just wrong for each other. That's it.
Yep.
It's not one's bad, one's good. It's nothing like that. It's just we might be able to stay friends or associates or neighbors or whatever it is, but we cannot work together. It's not going to happen. It's not going to work. So let's just not do that. I'll try to make sure you get to the right spot with someone I know is going to take care of you, but I'm not that guy. We're not going to end up being friends at the end of the day if we do.
But also, I think that comes with the financial DNA is not only the relationship style, which is part of the advisor-client match that we're talking about, but also is life perspective. And your life perspectives are down a certain track because of your relationship building style, your very structured also style. Are very important components of what you bring to the table, but that's not suited to everybody else. There are others out there that have got different life perspectives and it just may not be a fit. And you bring that to the planning. I mean, at the end of the day, you're building plans to last people's lifetimes.
Right. Yeah, you're totally right. You are the way you are. I'm very structured, very orderly, very neat type person. And again, not to get it, but I've had, out on the dating scene now, you have, you're going to make dinner for somebody, a lady comes over or whatnot, and they see how clean my house is. They automatically assume either I am married and I'm lying, or I have a maid service. I'm like, no, this is me. Here's all my cleaning supplies. This is why you're not allowed to drop by. I have to make sure it's up a notch before somebody comes over.
Well, that's a true test of a structured person, is how clean's the house.
It's like, you got 2 dogs, so it's like you got to clean all the time. But hey, that's the way I like it too. If nobody comes over for 2 months, it doesn't matter. I have to clean the house a certain way. But anyway.
So you've got into the industry because you love building relationships with people, long-term relationships. Your father's business, you went into that because of a client-centered philosophy. You could live that out, and as we know, not everybody in the industry does that to the level at least they should. I think more are starting to do it, but still, we've still got a way to go. With that,
I agree with that. I think that, just generally speaking, let's just, the first 12, 13 years, just splitting the 26 and a half, you saw a lot of conduct that you morally couldn't approve of from some other advisors. Not all the time, just more frequently, far less frequently now. I think either those people have either gotten out of the, and gone and done something, got out of the industry and gone and done something else, or they've changed. They've, hopefully seen the light and go, wait, I can't operate like that. I see a better way now. Either way, it's better for the public, and that's the way it should be.
So I think there's some of both. But Shay, taking the name Performance Wealth, how did you get to that name for your business? Because it's a very powerful name.
Well, funny story. 2013, August of, say, you know me with my memory, August 2013, I go down to see one of my centers of influence in the Orlando area. Not a client, just a longtime car buddy, you know, kind of thing. Very successful doctor. Used to be neighbors with Tiger Woods, literally, in Islesworth. And I go to sit down, known the guy since 02 or 03, something like that. And he's like, so how long are you going to hide behind someone else's name? I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm self-employed. He goes, how many years were you with that insurance company? And it was like 18 years. He goes, how long you been with this other guy? And it was like a year. He goes, yeah, you need to get your own identity. You need to start, and Shay, you're one of these people. He did say you're very caring, very loyal, which is unusual. At least that's what he said back then, to your industry. But also, why don't you specialize? You don't care if they're doctors or they're business owners or they're plumbers or whatever it is. You care that they're successful and make money. But as long as it's legal, you really don't care how they make the money. You just really want to deal with people that love cars, because that's how we knew each other. Now, you know, even at my grandest collection of, you know, in my garage back then, still pales in comparison to what this guy has. So from there, I walked out, found a marketing firm that I was comfortable with, and we brainstormed, and they came up with the name Performance Wealth. The logo, as you can tell, mutually, it looks kind of like a hood emblem on a car.
Yeah.
Do I only work with car people? No. And I have had clients say that because they have, you know, $200,000 RV. They don't have a $200,000 McLaren or something. I'm like, it's okay. You're still good people when you pass the DNA test. That's just my love. That's my passion. And so when I do visit a client or a prospect that has a car, or plural, a collection of cars, it's like Christmas for me. I'm like, let's see the cars. Let's see the cars. You know, so it was on purpose. The name and the logo and everything was kind of designed towards that.
So really, in a way, Performance Wealth is coming from high car performance or high performance car type thinking.
Well, you know, last weekend watching the Sebring race, I've been to that track. I've done a 3-day racing school there. You know, so you're going, ooh, I remember that corner. Ooh, of course, I'm so much slower than any of those people, but it's it's one of my passions. And if I had one hobby, I wish I could do every weekend and be at the track. So people that have that same sort of, I don't know what you want to call it, that same sort of desire. And it's not that all the people I do business with pretend to race cars or race cars. Some of them just like to look at them. They're just in their garage, which I have a problem with those people. They're like, take the car out and drive it. It's not a piece of art. It is art, but come on, let's drive it.
But it's a talking point with the clients. It's a way to empathize, to connect.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's inbuilt into you, the car component. It's like, for me, I love golf and cricket, and they're very easy talking points, you know, and ways to connect with people outside of money, business, or anything like that. You know, getting away from it, but also it can bring business in. But if you think about a car, it's a well-oiled, you know, the cars you're talking about are well-oiled machines. But also, if you're a car enthusiast, you love the car, you have a relationship with it. They often have a name, you know, they have a pet name of some sort. They're your baby. And so
exactly,
you know, it's not just about going as fast as you can. It's something you care about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, car enthusiasts, from what I can see, they polish the car, they make sure every part is working properly. They're getting a lot of love, even if they can't say "I love you" back in that. But I think that's what it means to you.
All right. No, you're completely right. They have names. When you have a few cars, it's almost, what do I feel like driving today? What's my mood today? What personality of car do I want today? Do I want the cruise? Do I want the nice and quiet? Do I want a top down experience? Do I want the 550 horsepower supercharged 8-cylinder? What do I want to drive today?
Yeah.
I'm feeling kind of aggressive. Let's try the 550 horsepower supercharged today. It's just, and then other days you feel like just, hey, it's a beautiful day. I've got a brush in the car. I'll brush my hair when I get to the client's house. I'm going to put down the top, put a little SPF on my big old forehead. and you just show up in a convertible. And, most clients, they see the cars, even if they're not car people, they appreciate the car anyway. They may not understand it and what you do with it, but they still appreciate the beauty of it.
The right person's going to understand all of that.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know anything about RVs.
The wrong client will not understand that.
Right. A ton of retired, well, not a ton, but, more than a couple, clients have gotten very large RVs when they retired. I don't know anything about RVs other than they're huge. There's no way in heck I'd ever want to drive one because it's, some of them are 3 and 4 times as long, it seems like, than any U-Haul truck I've ever driven. I'm like, no, thank you. But you can tell the love that they have for it.
Yeah. Beautiful,
beautiful equipment, beautiful, it's not an automobile, but beautiful RV. So you appreciate their appreciation of it. I don't consider the love of an RV versus the love of a performance car to necessarily be all that different. I mean, it is, but it's, a love of golf and a love of going to the racetrack, probably polar opposites kind of. And that's a knock in golf. I'm just not a golf person.
Yeah.
And I've been asked to, sponsor golf tournaments. And I did that once. I'm sorry, the golfers can smell me out immediately. Like, that guy doesn't know how to play golf. And they don't like you. They don't care what unless you're, buying them a bar tab, they don't want anything to do with you.
Yeah.
But the same thing happens when a non-car person comes to one of our car shows. You're like, what are you doing here? And this is another advisor that I've known longer than I've been in the business. You're like, what are you doing here? I'm into cars. No, you're not. You're just you want the money that these cars bring. You've never been into cars. I've known you since 1980 something. Well, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, we're going to smell you out. They're going to smell you out.
It's part of your authenticity at the end of the day. It's part of your fabric, who you are.
You stick to the golf, or you stick to the boating, or you stick to the hunting, or whatever. Stick to what you know and love. Don't try to pretend you know and love what we over here do. Just stay in your lane. There's plenty of business for everybody. Just stick to what you love instead of trying to make yourself out to be something you're not, just so you can get those clients. It's going to fall apart sooner or later, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Be authentic, like you keep saying.
So, Shay, as a wealth manager, what do you see as your standout talent? What's that, your bit of magic that you bring to clients, your 10 out of 10 out, you complete, you always repeat. It shows up when you're doing your best for a client.
I guess something that jumps out, and just to I guess further promote financial DNA, is that this is a mandatory exercise for any prospect to do if they're going to come into my practice, is bare minimum communication DNA and natural behavior. So all in all, it's going to take them 15 or so minutes. Usually their appointments are set 2 to 3 weeks out. And this has happened before. A couple days before the meeting starts, I don't have the reports, myself or my assistant. I know I've personally done it. I'll just say, hey, Hugh, you haven't done your homework for the meeting yet, so we're going to need to reschedule. What are you talking about? What homework? The homework that we sent you in the inbox. You need to click this, you need to do this, and you haven't done it. So we can't have our meeting. We're going to have to push it out at least 2, if not 3 weeks. Are you serious? No, I'm dead serious. You haven't done your homework. How do you expect me to prepare for the meeting? So do your homework, or we're not going to meet. And even the ones that are highly skeptical, even when you meet them, and we were taught to say, how did you find the process, kind of thing. And every once in a while you get, oh my gosh, they asked the same question so many different times. Like, it wasn't the same question. They kind of reworded, they're kind of trying to get you down a path. And, especially if it's a married couple, I'll usually start with the lady, and you're like, hey, Mrs. So-and-so, and you start going through these things. And invariably within a couple minutes, the husband's going to be like, you are that way. I'm like, hold on, buddy, you're next. And you get them laughing. I mean, it's serious stuff, but I try to be lighthearted and humorous about it. And I already know that they're lighthearted and humorous because I've got their DNA. So I already know we're a match. So we get her done, and I do everything within 20 minutes. I mean, between her, him, and me. So it's probably 8 or so minutes for her. And now it's like, all right, buddy, it's your turn. You do 8 or so minutes, and now she's getting a jump on him a little bit, and we're having fun. And then I throw myself under the bus because it's only fair. Hey, I'm a perfectionist. I'm this, I'm that. And here's how we're going to work together. And you get, we're laughing through the whole process. And then I'll usually just say, well, I think it's pretty self-evident we can work together. So what do you want to talk about? Because a lot of times, unless I can assume that, say it was you and your wife, if Leon, referred me to you and I had only handled Leon's investments, chances are you want to talk about your investments, but I actually don't know that yet. Pretty safe to assume. So I come in with a blank sheet of paper other than your reports. And like, so what do you want to talk about? Like, oh, okay. Now we want to do this, X, Y, and Z. And everything just falls right in place because now from that point forward, everything is organized exactly the way they like it and they need it to be. And if it's not a good fit, you're like, well, we've already covered that. I just refer them to another advisor. Everybody's happy.
So really, in the end of the day, if you said out of that, your strength and what you're good at is facilitating a very structured process to get to know who the clients are and to figure out whether you're going to be able to work together.
Right. And it's with the clients that I work with, and some of them I've had longer than I've had DNA in my corner. You were trying to operate that way anyway, but now you just have science, reports with you to sort of validate your gut or tell you what your gut's going to tell you before you can even meet them. That when something does go good or bad in that client's life, you, for the most part, know how to handle it and know how to present it to them. And when you get through that, the death of a spouse or the loss of a business or whatever it is, and it's good things too, but you help them through that in their way, they become even more glued to you because they're like, you really do care. And sometimes, I'll be honest, sometimes sometimes you're part psychologist, sometimes you're part bartender, sometimes you're, you'll end up crying together sometimes. I mean, it just is, but we mutually care. And I think for the right client, they're not used to having that with other advisors. And then here comes my crazy, what? And
if you really look at it, you were always a good facilitator. You always cared about the clients, wanted to engage with them. Mm-hmm. But I think financial DNA is just added on
structure,
a little bit more structure, and it's pinpointed in where to start with them to customize that experience. Mm-hmm. And get them to connect a little bit quicker. But that's really what's been going on, and put a bit more structure in there. But
right.
It's also your gift at facilitating people in a very connective way, and having a desire to do it is the strength.
And I think, at least for myself, even though maybe I can be intuitive and I can be, well, I'm not can be, I am very caring and that type of emotional type person. You still don't know how to react, how to work with that person until you have these reports. And then once you get the reports, you just know. And you're like, okay, Shay can be exactly the way, when I run into another reflective thinker and all the boxes are checked, you're like, well, I just get to be Shay. I don't have to change anything. But usually that's not the case. When it happens, it's beautiful. You got to pivot a little left, pivot a little right. But the point is you're not having to act like somebody you're not, which never works, not for long anyway. And, honestly, the first time I used your reports was in the late summer, fall of 2012 when I was with, another firm. And, the reports came to him before they came to me. And I just did the reports because I was told I had to do them. I didn't want to do them, to be honest, but I did them. And literally 24 hours before the meeting, that gentleman calls me and says, hey, did you have the meeting? It was 2 doctors that were referred to me by another doctor client that I do love, still have as a client. Have you had the meeting yet? I'm like, no, it's tomorrow. I can't wait. I'm so excited. He goes, it's not going to work. I'm like, what do you mean it's not going to work? I said, you don't even know the referring client, much less these people. How the hell, what are you talking about? And he started going through the whole jive, and I didn't believe him. I honestly did not believe him, even though he's reading from the reports. Next day, 2 days later, whatever it was, I go to the meeting. Nice, gorgeous place on the water, all the boats and cars, all the dream things your advisor wants to see is look at all the toys. Yay. They have money. Yay. And it was about an hour and a half, hour and 45 minute, tooth pulling. It was horrible. It was a horrible meeting. But me and my whole little never quit attitude, I'm like, typical guy. I can make it work. I can make it work. I can make it work. And for the next several days, because back then I had one phone that I kept on 24/7. So I was responding to their emails even through the weekend, even through dinner that Monday night, the following Monday. And I can just remember standing up in the old kitchen. Now ex-wife is across the counter. And I let out a Tourette's moment, not literally. Like, why can't these people understand simple English? Blah, 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 blah. And then it was like a lightning bolt hit, clouds parted. I could hear the other advisor from a few days ago going, oh my God, he was exactly right. There's no way this is going to work. Why didn't I just listen to those reports? So from then on, you don't take the reports, you don't take the quizzes online. I'm not meeting with you. I don't have time for it. Bye.
Yeah.
Do the homework up front and we can talk.
Well, I know that. I know the one client that I never had when I was a wealth manager, and we brought this into the business as I was evolving it inside the business. The one client that I could never get to do it was my biggest problem.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else, no problem.
Right. Right.
And, I've learned a lot out of that as you have, Shay. But at the end of the day, I think what we're really bringing out here is the facilitation of the client through this journey, through the discovery, is absolutely key. Whether you've got the system or not, the financial DNA system, you still need to have the right heart for facilitation of the client, to put them first. That's absolutely key. But the DNA can help you get there quicker, I think, is the big thing. But if we just take this forward a little bit, and we know you're a reflective thinker, and just for our listeners, what comes with that is, Shays, also, you're very structured. So that we've talked about that in the facilitation today, or the conversation today. You're also, what we call cooperative. You like to collaborate with people, which I think's part of being a great facilitator. What else when you did the financial DNA for you, did it bring out that, made you jump out of the seat with excitement?
Of all things, it's how quiet I can be with the whole reflective thinker, label for lack of better terms. And I can remember, not that these are the exact words in the reports, because it's been a while since I looked at my own reports, which I should probably go revisit. Is a reflective thinker, you can be accused of not paying attention. You're being overly quiet. You're kind of withdrawn from the new situation kind of thing. And typically, though, with a reflective thinker, is we are paying attention. If in fact we're like hyper paying attention, we're running through and doing all the schematics of if this, then that thing. Where does this person fit in? How does it relate to this person? Where do I fit in? Where can I benefit this group? Where can I organize it? So typically, we are guys though, because this isn't always the case. Typically, when I speak, it's very well spoken because I've thought it out a million times in my head before I open my mouth. I'm not saying always. I can still stick my foot in my mouth sometimes. But something that I remember talking with you when we did our certified wealth mentor training, because I was new to this system back then, was I'm like, well, I grew up in a household with this type of individual in the house that you were intimidated by, kind of thing. They're a heavy-handed ruler type person. And I'm like, maybe that's because I learned to act this way because I just didn't want to get yelled at more. You're like, nope, you're this way all the time. It's not him, it's not this relation. This is the way you always are, pretty much. And you find that, especially when I'm talking to another reflective thinker in like that initial interview, especially if it's the guy sometimes, and the wife will be like, you do seem withdrawn sometimes. And you're like, hold on, let me finish. he's actually really paying attention. That's the thing. And he's like, I told you so. I said, he appears withdrawn. He's not jumping in immediately like you'd like him. But once he responds, isn't it more like this? And he's like, yeah, he is like that. I'm like, okay, he just got a different way of doing things. I'm like him, I like it actually when I'm more like the female. And I've done this before. Like one of my high school buddies, in fact, I'm like, hey, Rick, not the Rick hey, Rick, you love her, right? Yeah. Well, good, because I'm a lot like her. So this is going to go great. And you go through the personality, the reports, and they're like, oh my gosh, she is that way. I'm like, so am I. Now, Rick, here's the way you need things. Do you find this true, Jennifer? Da, 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 da. And they're like, yeah, that is the way he is. Or yeah, and you just, oh my God, you got that from those little reports? Yeah, I did.
But it's also I think if you distill it down, it's the listening and being considered in what you say is the strength. So Shay, if we sort of package all of this together and said, what's the strategic impact you want to have on your clients as a wealth manager? What would you say that is?
I don't know I'm going to give the proper credit to this loose quote. I want to say it was Socrates, but I'm not going to hold myself to that. The best thing anyone wants is they want to feel like they're known, that they want to feel like they're understood.
Yeah.
And I believe that all too many times in my career, firms try to say, oh no, you're not just a number with us. You're not just a number with us. And they are. They're just another account. They're just another model portfolio. They throw them into this package. So you do these reports, and you've had instances where usually it's just smiling and laughing, and but every once in a while you get a tear pulled, like especially if an elderly lady just lost her husband, or an elderly lady had her husband just run off on her, and now she feels not destitute, but the man in her life just did her wrong, and he made all the financial decisions, whether he's gone for health reasons or philandering reasons, whatever it is. And here you come in, you're not trying to replace that person, but they're expecting you to run over them. And you're like, that's not my DNA anyway. But now you've gone through these reports, and you're like, look, this is the way we handled things when your husband was alive or when your husband was here. He's not part of the picture anymore. That stinks. It is what it is. Here's how you need things. So here's how we're going to change. And this is the way everything's going to be presented and structured for you. And I actually did have one lady, this has been maybe 3 or 4 years ago, her husband left her. I mean, she's 65, 70 years old. World was tops, never saw it coming. She starts crying. She's like, you understand me? I'm like, yeah, we're going to make this work. Forget him. We can't change that. This is the way you need it. So this is the way we're going to do it going forward. And if I ever talk over I tell this a lot to clients, especially the first interviews, because I think too many advisors love buzzwords and jargon to try to make themselves sound smart. Maybe they are smart, and maybe they're just talking, what. Most of them I think are just talking, what. Is if I ever talk over your head, not literally, slap me. Please don't literally slap me, but that's my prompt. I should talk to you in your terms, and you should understand when we get up to the meeting's over, you should have a very good understanding of everything we covered in your terms. And if I didn't do that, then I didn't do my job. So.
Yeah. So I think if I pull out of that, really your identity is around caring facilitation, bringing a structure with that, and making people feel understood, which is reflected in the plan.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and I'll say that
it's making the plan the plan shows the person has been understood.
Oh yeah, and even ongoing, because you can go in, and even if you are in a hurry, you can at least go to the highlights of their personality. If you didn't remember it all before you go into that next meeting, you go to make that next call, and then you got things like market mood. I remember going to my father, I already mentioned was in the industry. I'm like, oh, look at this new thing. This was however many years ago when it came out. And now I can call the client and go, hey, I saw on my panel, my dashboard, this thing and the other, you're feeling anxious. He's like, no, you don't tell him you have a computer that's telling you that. You just know. And you call people, well, it gives you advice. This person needs a phone call. This person need to drop them an email about certain data or whatever it is. You have another touch point with that client that's customized to them, however the media, if you will, the media, whether it's email, call, or whatever, and they appreciate it. They're like, yeah, I was feeling a little anxious.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. And you're like, you didn't wait for them to call. You're being proactive, and it's another touch point. And you're not selling anything. You're just reaffirming the relationship and that you cared when you got their business. And guess what? It's 20 years later, you still care for them and you're still doing those things.
But I think as we wrap up, Shay, really it's your caring approach, deployed with structure, if you want to say that, but also that leads to the customized plan that makes the person feel understood. That's what you're delivering for them.
Right. Yes, I hope so. Yeah. That's the plan. That's the plan.
That's going to then help them live the life they want to live and, in a way, have performance wealth.
Right. There you go.
All right, Shay. Well, it's been fantastic spending time with you today. I've really enjoyed it, and it's been great reconnecting. And, hopefully I see you soon.
Yes, sir. I would very much look forward to getting back to Atlanta and seeing you again. And it's been a pleasure and an honor that you asked me to do this with you.
Well, if I'm down in Jacksonville, I'll come and see you as well.
But you live in St. Augustine now, so even better.
Okay, even better.